Namaskar dosto, welcome to bizbotany. Today we are discussing about reproductive parts of flowers. Reproductive units of flower, they are nothing but Androecium and Gynocium. First of all, we need to understand about Androecium. Androecium is nothing but Androecium composed of stamens. Stamens are the male reproductive structures which are present in the flowers, which consist of anther and a stalk-like structures. We call it as a filament. Consider this is the structure of a stamen. Usually this structure we are calling it as a filament, which is stalk-like structure, and this complete structure we are calling it as a anther portion of a Androecium. This complete structure of a flower, unit of a flower, we are calling it as a Androecium, nothing but a male reproductive structures. In anther is usually a bilobed. It is a bilobed structure. Each lobe consists of two sacs. Inside these two lobes you can see a sacs. Commonly we call it as a pollen sacs. Inside pollen sacs, pollen grains will be formed. Inside these pollen sacs, pollen grain will be formed. Pollen grains will be formed. If the stamens are sterile stamens are known as staminode. What we are calling them? Staminode. Sterile stamens are known as staminodes. Stamens may attach to the petals. Flowers part, that is nothing but a petals. When stamens are attached to the petals, we call it as a epipetalous, just like this. Consider these are the petals. When these stamens are attached to a petals like this, we call it as a epipetalous. When stamens are attached with the parianth, we call it as a epiphyllous. Stamens may be free or it forms a bunches. Okay, when they are fused, they forms a bunches. When they are fused and they are more than one and they form a single bunch, we call it as a monoadelphous. When they form a more than one bunches, we call it as a, if they form a two bunches, we call it as a diadelphous. When they form a more than two bunches, we call it as a polyadelphous. Polyadelphous stamens. Second reproductive part of the flower is Gynocium. Gynocium comprises of carpels. It consists of carpels. Carpels have three parts. Carpel is a female reproductive structure of the flower, which consists of three parts. They are stigma, style and ovary. Stigma, style and ovary. This is the structure of a carpel. This part we are calling it as a ovary, this part style and this part stigma. Stigma, style, ovary are the parts of carpels. Ovary is the basal part of the carpels. Ovary is a basal part of the carpels. The tube-like structures which is present on the ovary, we call it as a style. It is a tube-like structures. Style connects ovary to the stigma. Stigma is a receptive surface for the pollen grains. Here pollen grains will be received from a male flower or male part of the same flowers. This part receives the pollen grains. These are the three parts of the Gynocium, nothing but a carpels. Each ovary bears one or more carpels. Each ovary consists of one or more carpels which are attached to a flattened cushion placenta. Placenta will be present inside the ovary. These ovules will be attached to the placenta. In a flower, when more than one carpels will be present and they are fused, we call it as a syncarpous. Okay, when more than one carpel will be present and they are free, we call it as a apocarpous. After fertilization, these ovules present inside the ovary develops into a seeds, and this ovary parts after fertilization matures into a fruit. These ovules will be converted into a seeds after fertilization. Similarly, this ovary will be converted into a fruit part. Next is the placentation. What is placentation? Means the arrangement of ovules inside the ovary. The arrangement of ovules within the ovary, we call it as a placentation. There are different type of placentation will be present in the ovary. In that, first one is marginal placentation. What is marginal placentation? Means placenta forms reeds along the ventral sutures. Here, this is a fruit of a pea plants. This one is a reeds of a ventral suture of the ovary. The ovules are born on these reeds. These are the ovules. These are the ovules which are born on this central reeds suture. Okay, such type of arrangement of ovules in the ovary forming a two rows. Two rows will be formed. This opposite rows also consist of ovules like this, forming a alternatively. Here you can see this type of arrangement of ovules, we call it as a marginal placentations. Second one is a axial placentation. What happening in axial placentation? When placenta is axial means central regions. These are the three locules of the ovary, and these are ovules arranged in a multilocular ovary. Such type of arrangement of ovules in the ovary, we call it as a axial placentation. Example for that is tomato. For this we have the example pea plant. The third type of placentation is parietal placentation. What happening in a parietal placentations? The ovules are developed on the inner wall. Here this one is a outer wall, and this one we are calling it as a inner wall. The ovules are developing on a inner wall of the ovary or on peripheral part. Periphery means what? Outer side. Central part, this part we call it as a central part, and this outer part we call it as a peripheral parts. The ovules are developed on a inner wall of the ovary or peripheral part of the ovary. Such type of arrangement of ovules, we call it as a parietal placentation. Second, the example for parietal placentation is mustard example. In mustard, you can see a mustard plants, you can see a parietal type of placentation. Next is the free central placentation. What happening in free central placentation? When the ovules are born on central axis. In this case, parietal case, here the ovary is one chambered. Ovary is a one chambered. After that, it becomes two chambers by the formation of a fall septa. Fall septa will be formed in the ovary, and it becomes a two chambers. Initially, it is a single chambered ovary will be present. Next, this one is a free-central placentation. What happening in free-central placentation? When the ovules are born on central axis. This is the central axis of the ovary. Ovules are born on the central axis and septa are absent. You cannot see any septa in this ovary. Ovules are born on the ovules are originating at the central axis and there is no septa will be present. Such type of arrangement of ovules in the ovary we call it as a free central placentation. Example for free central placentation is primrose. In primrose plants flower you can see a free central type of placentations. Next one is a basal placentation. Placenta develops at the base of ovary. This is a ovary and this is a placenta which is developing at the base of the ovary and single ovule is attached to it. Only one ovule will be attached to it. Such type of placentation we call it as a basal placentation. It will be present in a sunflowers. Sunflowers plants you can see a basal type of placentation. Here completes the placentation part. Thank you everybody.